Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Stefano Nativi. I work for the European Commission Joint Research Center. I'm presenting on behalf of all the members of the Evolving GEOS component. In particular, I'm going to tell you what is going on in this group, and in particular how we think to develop our work in a stepwise way. Actually a couple of years ago, we produced as GEOS Evolve initiative a white paper which is called Challenges to be Addressed in Evolving the Global Earth Observation System of Systems. And this is actually a starting point of this activity, and I'm going through the main outcome of this report, and I'm telling you what is our vision in terms of present and future work. And here we recognize three main areas where there are challenges. The first one is the governance, the second one is the architecture, and the third one is the interoperability. Before getting down to these areas, let me say that in these couple of years, of course, there have been some developments which are pretty important in order to understand how to advance GEOS. And so let me start with the first development, which is about the regional node of the GEO. And I'm talking of the Regional GEO initiatives, American GEO, Africa GEO, Asia and Oceania GEO, and Euro GEO. This is a quite important, development because they are fantastic instruments in order to reach out to a policymaker further and to understand which are the regional and national needs, but also which are the possible users at that level. And the other development here, it is the constant improvement of GCI in terms of instrument to engage resource providers as well as users. And today we are counting about 10,000 organizations sharing directly or indirectly their resources through GEOS, and about 15,000 users. 15,000 unique user organizations. And the third development, of course, was the introduction of the GeoKnowledge Hub concept and services. So now it is clear that the GEOS has to embrace more and more the concept of knowledge sharing and not just data and information sharing. And another important consideration to be done, it is that still GEO is pretty much to stay with its principles, because this is the main reason, to have a GEO and a GEOS. And here I just collected four main set of principles. First one are governance principles, such as, GEO is a voluntary, non-binding participation initiative, consensus-oriented decision-making is applied, transparent management, inclusiveness, multilateralism, etc. Then there are three sets of more technical principles, in particular data sharing and management principles and architecture principles. And I don't go through all these points because I'm sure that at least for the data sharing and management, you know them very well. As far as architecture, these must be open, effective, flexible, sustainable, and reliable. So now it is time to talk about the challenges. Let me start from the governance challenges. And we recognize an important need. The need to introduce this new regional GEO node level. This is particularly important, as I said, and the assumption, of course, it is that all of these initiatives and nodes are implementing the GEO principles that I mentioned before. So the challenges are, you know, what is the governance required in order to connect this level with the existing level, such as, I don't know, I mean, the GEOSS platform, but also, you know, the other components such as the flagships, the community, you know, of the GEO. So the governance, of course, must be updated and must be advanced in order to include this level. Then other challenges are more architectural oriented, such as, you know, how these nodes are positively contributing, you know, to enhance the GEOSS platform in terms of discoverability, accessibility, and knowledge generation. And here we are considering three main different governance scenarios. The first one is called the collaborative model. It is a model where all the different components and levels share resources, but with a pretty good central control. While in the knowledge model, the second one, this control is definitely relaxed, and so we are going towards a more federated or you know, virtual network approach. And finally, there is the autonomous model where all the components are you know, developing their own business, and only when needed, and sometimes they may or not collaborate. Well, according to us, it is worthy to focus on the first two models because the third one doesn't seem to apply all the GEO principles that I presented before. So now I'm going to discuss the architecture challenges. So let's say that we are going to implement one of the two styles, or more likely a sort of hybrid, you know, solution. And of course, assuming that we are still, you know, applying the architecture and data sharing and management principles. So what are the challenges here? The challenge here is to evolve from a multifunctional system, so a platform which is doing several different functions, into a web-based ecosystem where there are different components working together by utilizing the web as the platform, okay? And in this case, we are also able to leverage more and better the new ICT capacities and tools such as the big data analytics platform, the digital twin systems, etc. So in this case, we drafted a couple of possible architectures. The first one, which implements the collaborative governance model with a tightly interoperability style. What does it mean, tightly interoperability style? That basically means that each layer, each functional layer has to talk only with their neighbors, and they cannot skip, these neighborhood layers. While in the loosely coupled approach, this is not true. So, I mean, layers can just talk with any other layer. And in this case, in the collaborative model with a tightly interoperated style, as you can see, there is a central node which is communicating with all the other nodes, the regional nodes in particular, but there is only one entry point for GEOS, and it is at the global node level. While in the knowledge model, in particular applying a loosely coupled approach, we have several entry points, and all the components, all the nodes can communicate each other. Clearly, another challenge to be faced in refining these models, it is how to move from the present interoperability level, where we share mainly data, so we discover and we access data, to a more sophisticated interoperability level, where we share concepts of a semantic interoperability, but also where we orchestrate different components and services, so what is called a pragmatic interoperability. Well, in this case, of course, we need to work together with the regional GEO nodes, but also with the third-party platforms in order to understand, which kind of instrument and which level of interoperability they use and they allow. And this is where we are today. This is a standing, schema. So it is a work, a work design, and here you can recognize the GEO ecosystem, and in particular the three main components here, which are the GEO flagship community portals and other applications, the GEO platform, and the regional GEO infrastructure or systems. Then we have the external environment, so the big data analytic system and infrastructure, and the other international system of systems. And then we have the resource providers, data, information, and knowledge, which share their resources at different levels. So could be national, could be regional, or could be even local. And okay, this is the same concept, just to show you better which are the main components. And here just to tell you what are in our radar these big data analytics systems, for instance, Africa and Australian data cubes, the Copernicus GIS platform, the Google Earth Engine, the Amazon services, etc. On the other side, when we think of these thematic and international federated systems, we are thinking of WMO, WIGOS, or UNEP Live, UNGPDD, or GGIM, GEOSS, the space agency, thematic platforms, the networks, the global networks such as GPIF, etc. I already covered this slide. We distinguish between the collaborative model and the knowledge model. The first one is more centralized, the second one is more federated, and in this case we are applying the tight interoperability style. So each layer is communicating only with its neighborhood. And while if we relax this communication style, so we implement a loose style, as you can see, it is possible to skip layers, and so to have layers that communicate with other layers, even if they are not neighbor. And this is what we are considering presently, but this is an ongoing work. So there is time also to change this schema, evolving it according to the needs and the inputs. But today, as I said, we are considering something that can be considered in between a collaborative model with a loose coupling interoperability style and a knowledge model with a tight style. Okay, and finally, I present you a couple of recommendations in order to move on and advance with the development of the future GEOs. GEO must leverage the new architectural patterns and the technological developments in order to extend and increase the level of services of the GEOS to its community. As I said, the community consists of more than 10,000 data providers and about 15,000 unique user organizations. Then to maintain GEOS as a system of systems, that's particularly important in order to have such ecosystem philosophy based on interoperability, so establishing interoperability among the different systems and components in order not just to share data but also knowledge, as we outline. And in order to do that, we need to govern this change, and I already presented what are some governance challenges here. And to reinforce the process of formalizing, sharing, and making reusable the knowledge existing in the GEO community. So it must build on the community and not, redoing what the community has been doing. To ensure interoperability with the new the ICT instruments, in particular, for big data management, analytics, and insight generation, and reinforce interoperability as well with the other international and global initiatives in the same strategic area of GEO, such as the Sustainable Development Goals, the disaster risk reduction, and the climate change. And that's it. Thank you for your attention.